Tonight we are studying marshmallows. So I'm a very serious man. You know this. So now marshmallow problems. Okay, first of all, let's start with a little scripture. Oh, I'll give you the scriptures before we start. We have Proverbs 25, verse 28. Okay.
Well, I'll do that. Proverbs 25, 28.
And then Luke 14, Luke 14, verses 28 to 32. And finishing with 1 Corinthians 9, verses 24 to 27.
As it is not good for a man to eat much honey, so he that is a searcher of majesty shall be overwhelmed by glory. As a city that lieth open and is not compassed with walls, so is a man that cannot refrain his own spirit in speaking.
Okay, so the Bible says that the person who cannot overcome himself, who cannot exercise self-control, is like a city that all the gates are broken down, all the walls are broken down, and is without defense. So now getting back to my marshmallow, you guys are so indulgent with me. Thank you for your love. I do appreciate it. Yeah. Okay, so now there was a study done with children, okay, and children all over the world, no political persuasions, no social classes, just children all over the world. There was a study done.
They were 4 years old.
Yeah, 4 years old. Now, all that they did was had a plate, and they put a marshmallow on the plate, put them in a room, and they said that if you do not eat this marshmallow for 15 minutes, then we will come in and we will give you another one. So there's and it was hilarious because they filmed it and everything. Now, you see the children, you could see their brains working. So he takes this plate with this marshmallow, puts it on a table. Now there's nothing but a table and a chair and an empty room, nothing. And the child. And nobody in it, nobody. So he takes this plate with the marshmallow, puts it in the room, leaves for 15 minutes. If you don't eat it, by the time we get back in 15 minutes, we double it. We give you another one. So, interestingly enough, now, we have to look at the interesting parts of this test. First of all, they could have eaten it without penalty. There was no penalty. You can eat it if you want, but you'll get another one if you don't in 15 minutes, okay? They were in a room with no distractions. And you should have seen the kids staring at this mushroom and even like fingering it and, playing with it. It was.
They were snipping it, weren't they?
It was so funny. And now, I'm sorry, you guys won't get this because it was done in French. So, and I'm a French speaker, so I picked this up that way. But anyway, and then the thing is they had to assess the value of the present or of the future. You see, they had to assess, well, I can eat it right now and I want it now. But if I wait, I can get, 2 of them. Now, if they succeeded in waiting, they got the double of what they had. Now, 30% of the children were able to withstand the temptation, and they did not eat the marshmallow. Only 30%. 30. And this is all over the world, all social classes, no respecter of anything, okay? Now, interestingly enough, in this study, they followed the lives of the children. And the children, the 30% who did retain themselves and got the extra marshmallow were wildly successful in life, much, much more, noticeably more than the 70% who tucked into the marshmallow.
Makes perfect sense.
So when I heard this sermon, I go, no, that's strong. It's almost like the same thing with that study at Harvard with the people with the vision. Did they write it down or not? Do you remember I've preached on that before? Yeah. It was the same type of idea, you see.
Yeah.
So to me, that just spoke volumes. Well, this test with the children is like that for me. Thought, you're digging into something really important here. Because listen, I have a problem, ladies, and I will just say it. I am impulsive. I am.
Really, Larry?
Oh, yes.
Never known.
No, I know. It's humbling. So, now, let's have a look at this. Let's go to now Luke 14, verses 28 to 32. Maruka.
For which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost,
whether he has enough to finish it. Lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king going to make war against another king does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is still a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks conditions of peace.
Okay, so what we have here is, first of all, we have all done things where we have wanted to build. You have a house, I have a house. All of us have had projects, right? And we've had to count the cost. Can I afford to have the people come in and redo my floor, which happened last week? Can I afford to do some of the things that I'm doing? We have to count the cost. Now, keep in mind that reputation in the Middle East, especially at that time, was everything. If you lost your reputation, you were finished. Everybody was judged by, are you a man of your word? Okay, when you make an agreement, and it was a small community, everybody knows it if you didn't. Okay, I lived this somewhat in Switzerland, because Switzerland, everybody knows everybody, and you're gonna see the people you did business with. You're gonna see them again. It's a small country, and out here in Scotland, very important to keep a good reputation if you can. You know, I mean, if it's honest and everything. So if the man would have not been able to finish his building, then he would have been laughed at. He would have been ridiculed. Nobody would do business with him, which is why there is a current Italian law that is an abomination. They have a law that says that they will tax you heavily once you finish your building project. So all over the nation of Italy, you see these buildings with the last floor not finished, and they leave it like that. I think, what is going on in the brains of these people? How very, very silly. So now, then, if the proper planning and sacrifice isn't done, then you'll run short of funds. And you all know that every time you embark on building something, it always costs more than you thought it would. And it always takes longer than you thought it would. That's just the deal. So you have to figure that in as well. Don't be too close. Don't be too close of a line on your budget here. You're going to come short. So think of this child sitting in the room with the marshmallow. He's looking at it and he's thinking, I could just chomp this thing and nobody's going to shout at me. I'm not going to have any punishment. There's nothing. But I can get another one if I can just not touch it. You see? So now then he uses the analogy of a king in battle. Now keep in mind that there's an advancing army. So it looks like 10,000 soldiers against 20,000 is a pretty poor deal. But you have to understand, there is a home field advantage. If you're on your own terrain, you can build up defenses. You have an advantage. There's a home field advantage, definitely. So if you're an invading army, not only do you have to invade, you have to leave behind garrisons in the places that you conquer. So it's not as easy as just 20,000 against 10,000. Then also, if let's say that you do succeed in conquering the territory, you have to be able to manage the remaining population or the remaining fixtures or the thing. You have to maintain the place that you take over. So 20,000 against 10,000, you almost have to have 2-to-1 odds to be a conqueror, a successful conqueror, okay, in military terms. And you also have, for the maneuver of encirclement, it takes a crushing majority to do that. So the king has to look at it and say, can I do this? If I can't, I better go and ask for peace.
So what about all the times when God tells you to do something and people step out in faith and the money comes to them?
Good question.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That's a really good question. Now there we all have a responsibility to be absolutely sure that we are hearing from God. Now there are some times when I hear from God and I think, okay, I better test this when I think I've got it, but I better test it. So I will go to a trusted Christian. The first port of call is my wife. I'll go to Judy. She's very, very, very good with that sort of thing. I'll go to Paul. I'll go to Owen. He's a dear man of God. I can go to Valentina, and even Lawrence is very deep. At Mazel, we got some real deep people in our church, really deep. So I will check it with them.
But this idea of counting the cost, that's part of it. Have you gone before the Lord? Is this really what you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to get affirmation from him that it's the right thing to do. He will give you affirmation, even if it is something that appears to be a bit out in left field there. If it's something that God wants you to do, he will put a conviction in your heart which you cannot ignore.
Yeah, because like that time when you left Zimbabwe and you just had the money, that you didn't really have the money, but you were going to somehow do it, and then you found those shares, didn't you, or something, some monies you could cash in. That was exactly the right amount.
Oh, okay, I'll tell them about this. What happened was God told us it's time for you to leave Africa now, and we had the aircraft tickets that were going to cost 120,000 Zim dollars, which even then was a tidy sum. We didn't have it.
We had this discussion. We had made the decision. I remember we were sitting in the garden on a tree that had fallen down and was growing sideways with all the leaves going up because it had fallen down. Do you remember that tree? Okay, and I knew that this was the right thing to do. We got in our car and we drove to Harare. We went into the estate agents and we bought the tickets. One-way tickets for 4 people, 2 adults and 2 children. And they gave us 4 days to come back with the money.
Oh,
4 days.
you're right, actually. I'd forgotten that.
Okay? And while we were in there, I had absolutely no problem at all. Yeah, that's no problem. We'll be back in 4
We
days.
didn't have a bean.
And as we got in the truck to drive home, I suddenly thought, that's a lot of money.
Where are we going to get it?
And anyway, we went home and we prayed, and we were just in doing the stuff that you do in the house the following day. It was a Monday, and I went to the bookshelf to look. I was looking for a book, and these 2 pieces of paper came out with the book that I was looking at, and I looked at them. And what had happened several years prior, Old Mutual had gone private. So anybody who had a policy with them, they gave them 300 shares each. We had one each. So Larry played tennis with a guy who
It was a stockbroker.
Yeah. So he took the 2 pieces of paper and said, can you do something with these things? So he took them off and he came back 2 days later. Bear in mind we had 4 days to do this. And there was a check for
Exactly the amount, too.
down to the penny.
Exactly the amount we needed to pay for the aircraft tickets.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But that's a good question, Cordelia. I don't have a hard and fast answer for you. I can only speak of the things that you have projects that you're going to plan for and stuff like that. But yes, sometimes God tells you move and move now. I know.
But there is a conviction that will come on you which you cannot ignore when that happens. You cannot ignore it. It's not is this my own heart? Am I being silly here? You don't prevaricate. It is the certainty of it will be so deep that you just act.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a life and death situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Well done. Yeah. I don't have a hard and fast answer for that one, and I don't think I should have really, because that's just something to where we have our communication with God and He tells us things to do. Okay. Now, what I'm looking at here is self-control more than anything else, this message.
Yeah.
You see, because self-control is something that we all need a good dose of.
Yeah.
As I get older, I get better and worse at this. Both. I get better and worse. I don't know if you can understand that. Sometimes I am a lot more patient with children now, but I'm much more apt to fly off the handle like I did this morning when stupid thing I'm doing the floor and I'm holding a broom and Judy asked me something and I'm trying to reach over and get it to her, but I got this broom handle in my way and I just got frustrated, threw the broom on the ground and then handed it to her and she goes, well, she got kind of cross with me because, oh, what are you in a strup about? Yeah, it's right. Wow, what am I in a strup about?
Well,
It's not right.
The night before, the day before, we'd been talking about the fact that things that are important, we need to make it a priority, and we need to do it with enthusiasm and gusto. And then I'm saying, please give me my thingy of bird food because my chickens need to be fed. And he's growling at me, and I'm thinking, yes.
You know, when you preach, you got to reach. No, that's one of the good things about it, because I gave a good message yesterday, but then no sooner had I given the message than I was challenged on it. Yeah, big hot stuff there, yeah. So there we are. Right, let's go to 1 Corinthians 9, verses 24 to 27.
Right. The need for self-discipline, yeah?
Uh-huh, that's it.
Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last, but we do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, do you want me to carry on?
Yeah, till the end of the chapter.
Okay, therefore I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. No, I strike a blow to my body and make it my slave, so that after I've preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified from the prize.
Okay, notice that if you're running a race, you have a focus. You're in your lane and you have a focus to that finish line, and that's all that exists for those moments in time. That there's nothing else that gets into your mind. Now, training, discipline, and sacrifice are things that have to happen for you to do that. I remember when I was playing tournament tennis before I met Judy, I used to I'd get into a tournament and I'd get up to the third round, fourth round or something, and do a good tournament. But then even if I won a match in my round, if I was unhappy with my forehand, I'd get on the ball machine after the match and I'd hit 300 or 400 forehands. Or if I was unhappy with my second serve, I would sit there and just second serve it, like do a whole shopping basket full of second serves. Okay, and that was even if I won my match. And often at times, if I won my match, if I wasn't happy with a certain part of my game. Now, also notice he uses the analogy of a boxer. I don't hit the air; I hit a target. Okay, and he says run in such a way. Now, obviously, not everybody wins first prize in a race. But keep in mind that in the race for, shall we say, for want of a better word, in the race for salvation, we all have the same capacities. It's not like I am in competition with you and you are in competition with me.
No,
that's not the same idea.
With yourself.
Yes, but there is a certain idea, a certain intensity when you want to win the first place. You see, there's a focus that is all consuming. So what Paul wants us to do in this, he wants us to really be intentional and really look at what our goal is. Now, in order for our goal to be reached, it has to be defined. Look at the little child with the marshmallow. All they had to do was just not eat that marshmallow for 15 minutes, and that's all they had in the room, nothing else. Okay, so the focus could not have gone somewhere else. He uses that analogy of the boxer and the runner simply to show that the intensity that we need to put in to our salvation, to the reality that we need to seek God at. Some of the places where that reality is going to show is like the idea of, let's say, forgiveness. It's not easy for me to forgive. It's not easy for any of us to forgive, especially when people have hurt us very badly. It's a very difficult thing, but we force ourselves to do it because that's in the race. That's in the boxing match. We also have to force ourselves to sincerely apologize and repent when we've hurt someone, This morning when I barked at Judy, I apologized pretty quickly. I'm sorry. I'm just, I just got confused and, whatever. It's not that I don't want to, be disagreeable, but just life kind of does that.
The thing is, when you get focused on something that you want to do, you will focus in on it to the exclusion of everything else. And consequently, because of that, when somebody enters into your sphere and breaks that concentration, it irritates you.
Yeah.
And it's a human condition.
That's what happened this morning. I was tired and I was concentrating on doing something, and then she kind of took me off the track. It wasn't her fault. She needed what she needed.
Well, I knew he was washing the floor. My feet were filthy. If I'd gone in there, I would have got twice as much of a rocket. So, I just had to count the cost.
I'm such a hard man to live with. Now you know the truth. Oh, dear. Okay, so just another thing. Paul doesn't waste energy on unprofitable things. Do you notice that? He has a streamlined focus. He doesn't. Now, distraction, as we have seen in a teaching 3 weeks ago, distraction is one of the main tools of the devil. He will try to sideline you. He will try to get you distracted, take your concentration off of the race, off of the boxing match. He'll try to get you so that you can't see clearly. He'll try to get you doing useless things that waste your time. He may even send people to you who will just chew up your time and give you no time for yourself. He'll also have, there's certain people that will suck energy out of you. And you talk to them for 3 hours, you still haven't gotten anywhere, but then at the end of the day, you're dead on your feet because they've just taken all your energy out. We have to be careful with that kind of thing, not to let that happen, not to let distraction get in the way, okay? Now, the punchline with this 1 Corinthians 9 that I like so well is he says, I dominate my body, I don't let my body dominate me. Now, we can take that principle into many other domains of our life. We can put it into our emotions. I don't let my emotions dictate to me what I'm going to do. Now, I'm going to be a little bit sexist here. Please forgive me, ladies, but women will tend to struggle with this a little more than men do, because women have their emotions that are quite a bit more active than we do. We learn from a very early age to contain our emotions.
It's easier for men.
Well,
Because you only think about a man keeps himself at the centre of his life, whereas a woman is always thinking about everyone.
I look at it partially what you said, but I think to me it looks different, and I'll tell you why. This is how I understand life, mind you, and it doesn't have to be right or wrong. But look at a man's body. Once I get to 13 or 14 years old, my body basically doesn't change very much for the rest of my life. The bones grow, things happen. Not much though, not a lot. But a woman's body, all of a sudden she starts menstruating at 12 to 14 years old, and the hormones, she's flushed with hormones, and once a month, the flushing with hormones and the rapid change in her body, and then when the pregnancy happens, the belly goes whoop out to here, and then the baby happens whoa, and it comes back in. And sorry, but it shows that the woman has a life of radical change that men don't have. And this is why and also the mothering instinct with children and things like that.
But also, a woman's brain works in several different directions all the time, but a man's only on one track.
Yep, we focus. Now,
So won't be half as emotional if you only concentrate on one thing.
I'm not that way. I have multi-layers in my thinking, but...
Except when you're doing the mopping.
Except what?
When you mop the floor.
Okay, I'm not going to get out of this alive. Anyway, I'm not going to get away. Okay, but that's my way of making sense of the world that I'm living in. That's
all makes sense.
Okay, it's just that my way of understanding it. That's all.
Everyone makes sense in their own way.
And part of it is physiological. That's all I'm saying. And part of it is really just physical. Okay.
No, I agree with you. It's much simpler with a man's body.
I do appreciate the fact that he mopped the floor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, darling.
Yes.
Okay. Now, just to summarize, now the child who disciplined himself or herself doubled the reward. Now, listen to this. Afterwards, we can conceive of the child enjoying eating one, selling the other, buying two more with the proceeds, then continuing in that way, being able to have a constant supply of the coveted sweetie, marshmallows. Do you understand what I'm doing here? He gets one, he gets two. Okay, now I got two. I can sell one, eat the other, and I can get two more, and then I can sell them, get four. You see, and it just multiplies.
It's like that the story where the three guys were given the money in the Bible.
Mm.
You know,
The
we
talents.
get
Good.
money in the Bible, and one buried it, one to see
The talents.
Yeah,
make the
perfect.
most of it.
Yeah, perfect. That was kind of what I was getting at. Yeah. Well said. Thank you. Yeah. Now the next one, the child who ate the one had their momentary pleasure, but they didn't have anything after that. We could also conceive of that child buying their next marshmallow from the first child.
Yeah.
Huh? You see? And then I have a little saying according to Gentis, if you can permit me a little folie. The one who is not disciplined will always be at the mercy of the one who is disciplined.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
That again is an authentic Gentis quote. That's just my way of making sense out of the world I live in. Okay? Now, in real terms, though, the marshmallow, it could be anything. It could be control of our emotions. It could be our budgeting and spending. Could be the alcohol intake. It could be social media exposure. It could take many, many forms. But the basic idea is looking at something and fighting.
Time.
Yeah, fighting.
Could be time.
Time. Ooh, good one. Fighting against impulsiveness and assessing a situation where if it would be profitable to wait, to have the strength of character to wait.